Chaim. All right, we're starting a new packet. Probably take us through the end of June, I think. And it's just actually, this is a section of Ketubot that I never studied before, so I thought that would be interesting for me. And then also, because it's Ketubot, there's a number of reasons why I picked this one, but I hadn't studied it before. Also, it's Ketubot, so people, it's true, Ketubot is the most representative of the tractates of the Talmud. It takes you in all sorts of different directions, so you get the best sense of the style of the Talmud. So there's people that say that you only need to study Ketubot, but by studying Ketubot you get the whole Talmud, because it goes back and forth. So Ketubot, the word Ketubah means marriage. We studied stuff from Ketubot over the years, so just going back to it. Ketubah is a marriage document, and Ketubot are laws of marriage. And this particular one I thought is a little bit racy, and I thought that would be interesting anyway. I mean, it's we're going to encounter very primitive attitudes. We'll have to just maintain our sense of decorum and how we cast judgments on ancient people. The context is very different now. It doesn't mean that you give up your moral compass in reading this, but it does mean you just kind of follow along the different arguments, and then you can go home and think about it and argue with it if you want, or argue with it here. But I still think sexual mores are still very interesting in cultures, and just and what's interesting, I think, if you follow the debate on campus about sexual mores, and it's always an interesting place to look and see. You see a sort of full circle, a kind of new conservatism on all sorts of issues having to do with sex. And so there's the whole liberation that a lot of us grew up with, but there's also backlashes, and so it's always an interesting topic. And it doesn't mean that Talmud has exactly the right take on it, but it does mean that the Talmud may have some interesting ideas, at least to see how Judaism approaches the whole topic. Anyway, so we start with the Mishnah, as we always do. You have 163 there, right? It didn't come out so well in the page number, but yeah, it's so Mishnah. Let me just say that this is going to be where the Mishnah is about questions of virginity for the wife, and a lot of this, some of it starts in the Bible. The Bible's take on these things, interestingly, my bar mitzvah portion had a lot of them, and I'm trying to remember, what did I think about all this stuff about if she's a virgin, if she's not a virgin. And I was studying this with my father as 12 years old, and I guess I blocked it out of my mind because I don't really remember. But a lot of the Torah reading is about that. It's Kitei Tzei. But what I do remember is that the Torah is a kind of Wild West law. If she's not a virgin, you take her out and stone her. I mean, it's very stark, and very. And the Talmud has to soften a lot of that. And so for the Talmud, if you discover that she's not a virgin, it's not really it doesn't become a criminal issue. Interestingly, it becomes a civil issue. She represented herself as a virgin, and therefore her ketubah had a certain amount of money in it, and you find out that she misrepresented herself, so it becomes a civil issue, which I suppose is better than taking her out and stoning her. And yet, of course, it still brings up uncomfortable issues, which I think we'll meet head on. So I just to say the law is, so a ketubah, just remind you what a ketubah is. So a ketubah guarantees the wife a certain amount of money in the event of the dissolution of the marriage, either because he dies or because of divorce. And it's a significant amount of money. So it's 200 zuz. 200 zuz is a year's salary. So the idea is that she should be able, a nice year's salary, that she should be able to live on her own for a year, and then the idea is that someone else would take care of her. She'd get married, gets a job, whatever. The thing is that if she comes into the marriage under fraudulent pretenses, one would be that she claims to be a virgin and not. There's a divorce, and the question is, does she get the full amount of the ketubah or not? And that's the issue. So if she misrepresented herself, then she doesn't. Now, if it turns out that she's not a virgin, but it's not her fault, then they still get divorced. But she collects the full amount of the ketubah. So that's the law in the Talmud. The Torah is much less complicated about the whole thing. They don't develop the whole idea of the ketubah. Ketubah is barely mentioned. But we're dealing now with the Talmud, which is going to quote the Bible occasionally. But we're really in the law, the area of law, according to the Mishnah and the Talmud. All right, I'm going to just go straight ahead. and then see if there's any questions after we read a little of the Mishnah. All right?
Right.
Hanaset Aisha velo matzala betulim. So you marry a woman and you don't find signs of virginity. I do remember being confused by that when I was 12 years old. I'm like, what are the signs of virginity? And I can't imagine how my father answered that question either. Maybe he just was honest. I don't know. So he discovers that she's not a virgin, but there are signs. So the signs are the marriage bed, and then the blood. Right. So he doesn't find it. Yeah, it's after the fact. Yeah. Okay. All right. So he says, hey, wait a second. What's going on here? Hi omeret. This is her claim. Me she'erastani ne'nasti v'nistabcha sadeh. Okay. So she says, after we were engaged. Okay. So the thing is, this is. We have a remnant of this. I just did a wedding. I do weddings all through the summer, but I just did a wedding on Sunday. So according to Jewish law, you are not officially married at the engagement, but all of the laws hold at the engagement. So whatever you claim to be at the engagement, that's what you are. So they used to be a year apart. You would get engaged, and then you would get married, exactly a year apart. And now we do them together. We do both ceremonies together. Okay. So once you're engaged, if you have sex with another man, then it's adultery. Remember, before you're engaged, it's not adultery. You shouldn't do it. It's not like a nice thing to do, but it's premarital sex. And even back then, they understood that happened. However, if you are engaged to another man and you have sex with somebody else, at that point, it's adultery. Okay. And there's of course always the possibility that the fiancés will have sex with each other, which is not a nice thing to do in the Talmud, but it's not like a big deal. It doesn't stop the wedding from happening. All right. So her claim is that after we were engaged, I was raped. Okay. So she wasn't misleading she had signed a document when they were engaged saying I'm a virgin. There was no fraudulence whatsoever, is what she's claiming. It's true. Now I'm not a virgin, she's saying. However, me not being a virgin, it's not that I didn't tell you then. I didn't tell you just now. I didn't think you'd want to know. But that's her claim. So, and this is, the field's been flooded. I mean, that's the idiomatic phrase that she uses, really, the rabbis. The rabbis are inventing a case here, but that's the idiomatic phrase. And I suppose that means that's why we didn't have these signs of virginity, because the field was flooded when I was raped, and so the field meaning her, so that's her claim. Okay, he has a claim. Now, you hate to put this just in purely financial terms, and remember, it's not me that's doing it. I'm just reading the Mishnah here, and I don't guess people get mad at me for the Mishnah, but I actually didn't write the Mishnah, but that it's because it becomes an issue for the courts. The issue is they're going to get divorced. Okay, that's clear. They're going to get divorced. The question is, does she get the full amount of the ketubah or not? Okay, and like any parties in this kind of dispute, she wants the money and he doesn't want to pay. It's not very romantic, but we're all adults, and I've been involved with enough divorces. It very often comes down to that. I don't want to pay, but you want to get paid. And who's going to decide? So it's the rabbis. The judges are going to decide. So we have one claim. The claim of the woman is, you should pay me because I got raped. It was no fault of mine. And there's nothing fraudulent about my claim at all. I wasn't under any obligation to tell you that I was raped after I got engaged, because when I got engaged, that's when I made the claim that I was a virgin. Yeah.
This may be clear to everyone, but why do they have to get divorced? I know that's a modern question, but so is it paternity? If it has a child, you don't know who it is, or what's the reason?
Two answers. Two answers. One is that would have been the custom back then, because he would have wanted to marry a virgin, and the fact that she's not a virgin means that they get divorced. It's basically a no-fault divorce. It's not putting the blame on her, but it's a divorce, and she gets paid fully. The other is that it's quite likely they just both decided, it wasn't working. It wasn't just the reality probably is they barely knew each other. It was an arranged marriage, and it was enough that they just didn't like each other. So the fact it's not like they had to get divorced. The fact that it comes to a court, that's why it's in the Mishnah, means that because of the custom, because they both decided they wanted to get divorced, they got divorced. You could easily imagine a scenario where they're in love with each other, so the last thing on their mind is divorce. And it's a terrible thing, and she should get counseling. But that's not the situation. The situation we have right now in the Mishnah is adversarial. And, we're not naive. We understand sometimes these things become adversarial. Okay. Does that answer? So it's not like it has to have. It's in the sense that in the case it becomes adversarial, and it's divorce proceedings, here's what you do. Okay? So his claim is, V'hu omer loki. Loki means no, I dispute your claim. Ella ad shelo erastich. But rather it happened before. He's not denying that she got raped. Okay? But he's saying it happened before, and you should have told me. Because it would have changed my whole attitude. So v'haya mikachim mekach ta'ut. So then the whole transaction was a transaction in error. So I didn't know the full facts. Now, if you believe his claim, I'm going to admit, I mean, it's very startling for modern ears and offensive, but I want to get past that. The whole thing is not going to be that offensive. But in the end, what he's saying is that I shouldn't have to pay her ketubah, and she's saying you have to pay it. And they have different claims. They have different claims of fact. They're not throwing around different ethical arguments like you should pay me anyway. It's different claims of fact, different claims of what happened. Okay, is that clear? Okay.
The issue of rape is irrelevant. I mean, she could have had consensual sex.
Could have been, exactly.
Could have been.
Yeah. Right. She would look worse. I mean, it would be right. I mean, if she had said no, I had sex with some guy, after we got engaged, she would look bad. So she doesn't want to make that claim, or she doesn't make that claim, whatever. And but he's not even claiming that either, and he's actually accepting the rape claim. Okay, so. What do you do? What do you do in absence of any proof? So we're in the place where there's no witnesses. They've done investigation. Okay. Rabban Gamliel, Rabbi Eliezer, Omer, Ne'emenet. So Rabban Gamliel and Rabbi Eliezer, the two of them together, say she's believed. So she's believed. So she gets paid. You don't do any further investigation. All right. It's just that's it. All right. Let me take a step back for a second. It doesn't necessarily mean at that point when she makes the claim, you don't have to do any further investigation. I'm not sure. Maybe it'll come up. Remember, I've just studied a couple pages ahead. But it may be that they've done some investigation before. But in any case, if you have conflicting claims that you can't adjudicate based on other facts, you believe her. That's the opinion of Rabban Gamliel and Rabbi Eliezer. And that becomes, if you're interested, that becomes Jewish law. Okay. However, there's another opinion. Rabbi Yeshua Omer, Lo mi piha anu chayim. He uses an idiomatic phrase. Why should we live on her word? So what is it about her word that's better than his word? Right. Ella, harei zo b'chazkat be'ula. Rather, the assumption would be that that she was somebody who had sex ahead of time. I mean, because there was no signs that she's a virgin. She basically admitted that she wasn't a virgin. So we make the assumption that she's not a virgin. Before she was betrothed. So we make the assumption that she was not a virgin. That she was assumed to have intercourse before she was betrothed. Until she can bring proof otherwise. So he's actually saying the burden of proof is on her. Right. That she got raped in between. So she has to bring some proof. If she doesn't bring some proof that happened, then we don't believe her. It's two different opinions. Okay. All right. Now, already in the Mishnah, because you've got two rabbis saying that you believe her, and you've got one rabbi saying that you don't necessarily believe her, it's 2-1. so those two rabbis. Yeah. So even though the Mishnah represents both opinions, it's clear from the editors of the Mishnah that you're supposed to follow the first opinion, which is that she's believed. Still, we have these two opinions. Okay. Was there a question?
Does it matter if the Quana rabbis, one is highly
it does matter.
Better?
Yeah, it does. It does. Well, yeah, sometimes it does. There's rules about how you figure out who's right in the Mishnah and not. So yeah, sometimes if it's Rabbi Akiva, for instance,
it was the dissenter.
Yeah, so Rabbi Akiva is always right, except for a few other things. But that's not the case here. Here it's two against one. It's actually sort of unusual. I mean, very often it's one rabbi that's dissenting against everybody, in which case you preserve the opinion of the one rabbi who's dissenting, but you follow the opinion of all the rabbis. Okay, but here you've got two rabbis against one. Okay, Gemara, Itmar. Okay, so the Gemara now analyzes this, of course, right? But they immediately try to find a parallel in other civil cases. And that's where I think things get very interesting. They get a little racy, like I said, a little confusing. But they also become very interesting because they try to find what's a parallel here. Are there other areas of civil law having nothing to do with marriage, nothing to do with sex, that are parallel that can instruct us on this? And which is very common in ketubot. That's why I say ketubot will take us out of the subject of marriage into the subject of general civil law. So you end up learning a lot when you study ketubot. Okay, Itmar. So Itmar, which means it was said, it's a phrase in the Gemara that always introduces a difference of opinion among the rabbis. So here's a difference of opinion. Maneh li biadecha. Okay, so that's a classic dispute. I think not just in Jewish law. I think in all sorts of legal system, this is a classic dispute. You owe me 100 zuz. And maneh is 100. You owe me 100. Okay, it's a claim. I make that claim to you. V'hala umer eini yodea. And then I say you owe me 100, and you say to me, I don't know about that. What's another possibility that you could say?
I don't know you.
Well, you deny it. You deny. I don't know you a thing. I don't know you. But you don't say that. You say, I'm not sure. Okay, that's the claim. And remember, these come to a court. That's what the court has. The court has one guy saying you owe me 100, and the other guy says, maybe not. Okay, and what's interesting is that the Talmud comes up with rules in those cases based on no evidence whatsoever, just on that alone, on those phrases. Now again, I'm assuming there's no other evidence to the contrary. There's not a document. There's no witnesses. It's just the two claims. Okay, Rav Yehuda, Rav Huna, Amre. So Rav Yehuda and Rav Huna, two people say chayav. They say you pay him the $100. V'Rav Nachman v'Rabbi Yochanan. It's two. It's going to be two to two. So Amrei patur. So they say no, you don't have to pay him anything. Okay. So we're going to examine that. Anybody have a sense of why you would be obligated to pay if you say I don't know?
Because
the other person asserts it.
we're not certain.
Right.
Your argument is less strong than...
Yes, that's right. That's right. Right. So right. So it's a little weird, but yeah. I mean that's what it is. It's an argument of certainty versus uncertainty, and in the absence of any other evidence, the judges pick the certain. You've got the certain claim. Okay. Rav Huna of Rav Yehuda Amre. Okay, so Rav Huna and Rav Yehuda, remember, who say chayav. You have to kind of keep the players. They say that you're required to pay. Now we have them explaining their reasoning. Now keep in mind, it's probably not they themselves that are explaining their reasoning. It's probably later editors of the Talmud are understanding their reasoning. That's how it works. And they're putting that explanation in their mouths. But it goes something like this. Chayav, that you are required to pay, because you have a debate of bari v'shama, in the case of certainty versus uncertainty. Shema means perhaps, but we'll say it's uncertainty. Bari adif. The certain claim is preferable. So you rule according to the certain claim. Okay. Now, 5 minutes ago we were talking about whether she was a virgin or not. You've already forgotten all about that. We're in a whole different case. But you have to keep it in the back of your mind, because you're going to think, well, what's the difference? How are they applicable? Okay. Now we're going to learn the other opinion, page 165. So I think you turn the page. So Rav Nachman and Rabbi Yochanan Amri. So Rav Nachman and Rabbi Yochanan, who say that you're not obligated, they say patur, and they have a reasoning too, also a principle. Oki mimuna b'chezkat mareh. Okay, because we established the money, whatever money there is, in the possession of the person who's got it, which is another way of saying, since the defendant in that case has the money, you actually need proof to remove that money from that person and give it to somebody else. There's another, that's a principle you'll find in the Talmud a lot. In order to take property from one person to another, you need proof. It can't just be, you play games with the claims, with the words themselves. I need to have a document. whoever has the money. So its possession is 9/10 of the law, right? That's which I've heard is not really true, but
It works.
yeah, but that's kind of the thing here. Okay, in order to remove money from that person's pocket, you have to actually have proof. Otherwise, we assume that we keep things status quo. Okay, so those are the two opinions. The two opinions are no, we have an absolute claim versus a sort of half-hearted claim, right? But on the other hand, we've got the money's in my pocket. In order to take money out of my pocket, even though I think it's possible I do owe him the money, the judges need more proof than I think it's possible, and the other guy has a certain claim. Okay, so now we have both. Now we have the opinions of both, plus we have the explanation for both opinions. Okay, what we haven't done yet is connect it to the virgin, not a virgin issue. Okay, which we're going to get to. Amar le Abaye le Rav Yosef. So Abaye says to Rav Yosef, these are later opinions, but they're talking about it. Ha de Rav Huna v'Rav Yehuda. Okay, so the opinion of Rav Huna and Rav Yehuda. I'm going to remind you, Rav Huna and Rav Yehuda are the ones that say he does owe the money. Di Shmuel he. It sounds just like something Shmuel said. They're going back to Shmuel, who lived a while before them. Ditnan, and he said. Okay, so now we're getting to something that's a little closer to marriage and sex and Ditnan, because we have a Mishnah. Haitama uberet. All right, they find out that she's pregnant. Woman is pregnant. Okay. The amrula, and they. I'm just going to check one thing. Sorry. She's not married. Okay, that's important to understand. So she's pregnant. So they ask her mativo shel ubarze. Okay, so they ask her, it comes to a court because they have to figure out child support. They have to figure out a lot of things here. This is an unmarried woman who's pregnant. Mativo, and they ask her, Mativo she'ubarzeh, where does this baby come from? And she says, well, I'm a virgin. No, I'm just kidding. Right? No, that would be, it's a different religion. So she says back, Meish Ploni. It came from a guy, and she says the name. V'kohen. Okay, and he's a priest. Okay. Okay. Yeah. It's called a shanda, but it's not. Okay. But that's not what we're interested in. We're not actually. What's interesting here is we're not judging ethically. We're just trying to figure out the law. Okay. But we have the name of the guy, so that's important too. So I mean, remember that if it wasn't a Kohen, it would be pretty easy. They'd go to Mr. Non-Cohen and say, congratulations on your marriage to to this woman here. I mean, because she's pregnant and you're the father. Of course, he maybe would deny it, but anyway. But the fact that it's a Cohen has to marry a virgin. Anyway, so I'm just Rabban Gamliel and Rabbi Eliezer Omer nemenet. So Rabban Gamliel and Rabbi Eliezer say she's believed. Okay, just believed, flat out believed. Okay. Ve'amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel. But Rav Yehuda said in the name of Shmuel, and Rav Yehuda said in the name of Shmuel, halacha ke Rabban Gamliel. So that the law is according to Rabban Gamliel. Okay. And Rabban Gamliel says that she's believed. Now, it's not just Rabban Gamliel that says it, it's Rabban Gamliel and Rabbi Eliezer. Ve'amar le Rav Shmuel, Bar Yehuda, le Rav Yehuda. And Shmuel says, this is Rav Shmuel, different Shmuel, the son of Rav Yehuda, says to Rav Yehuda, next page, Shinana. So Shinana is an insult. It means wise guy. It's actually from the Hebrew word shinaim, shein, which is teeth. Teeth are sharp-witted guy. And that's Steinsaltz translated that one, sharp-witted one, but it's meant as an insult. In other words, why are you telling us what Shmuel said? The whole thing becomes confused since the person who makes this claim is Rav Shmuel. But it's different. What's interesting to know is that the original Shmuel, who was a great, great scholar in the Talmud and mentioned a lot, was not in fact a rabbi, was never ordained as a rabbi. There's some interesting stories about why that was. There was several attempts for him to become ordained that almost like comically fell flat. But he was not there's a Rav Shmuel was a common name. Rav Shmuel, the son of Rav Yehuda, says to Yehuda, that why are you quoting a Shmuel? Shinana, Amarta lan mishmei de Shmuel. Why are you telling us this in the name of Shmuel, the original Shmuel? Halacha ki Rabban Gamliel, ach berishona. We know that the law is according to Rabban Gamliel, even in the first dispute. So the first dispute is the one we studied back, 10 minutes ago in our Mishnah, where it's not that the woman's pregnant. Remember, in our Mishnah, it's not the woman's pregnant. We find out that she's not a virgin, but it's not that she's pregnant. You don't have to quote a Shmuel to tell us that the law is according to Rabban Gamliel. We already know the law is according to Rabban Gamliel because the law was according to Rabban Gamliel in the first Mishnah. So therefore, we know the law would be according to Rabban Gamliel in this other teaching too. So now what he's claiming is that these two cases are so similar that you don't even have to tell us, since they're so similar. So in one case, the woman's believed because she says I was raped and that's why I'm not a virgin. In the other case, the woman is believed because she says the father is that guy over there, the priest. So what this guy is claiming is that it's so obvious that one case is like the other that you don't even have to tell us that Rabban Gamliel is right, because we already know he's right because we know from the first Mishnah that he was right. Okay, is that clear?
It's so clear.
Yeah, good. Well, you're saying yes. All I can do is go on your word. Yeah. So, but the challenge now is how are these things so clear? So I've told you why one is so clear, but and you could just say, all right, we have a general principle here. We believe the woman. We believe the woman when she says she was raped. We believe the woman when she says the father's over there, that women don't lie about these things. And since Rabban Gamliel is correct about that in the first Mishnah, that must establish a general principle that we believe the woman. Remember, the counter argument to that is, why believe the woman? It's not so much why believe the woman and not the man, it's that what's magic about with the woman's claim. But Rabban Gamliel seems to say, in general, you believe the woman, and if that's the case, then we follow him. If that's the general principle, we follow him. Okay? So that's this rabbi's claim. I don't need to know that Rabban Gamliel's right. I already know he's right because of that first Mishnah. Okay. But as you'll see, there's a lot of differences between claiming that you're pregnant and claiming that you were raped. Right? If you look at the facts of those two cases, they actually are different. They both involve claims by a woman, but they're very different claims. She's not claiming that that priest raped her. She's also not engaged to somebody else. So very different cases. Okay. My Appa Rishana. So what? How is basically they're saying how are these two cases connected? Okay. Afal gav de ikalem the meimar. So in one you say, and this goes back to the case of the guy who owes the money. Even though you can say oki mamuna b'chazkat mare, to take money out of somebody's pocket, you need proof. That's basically what that says. By the way, that could hold towards, and this gets us back to our case. That could hold towards taking money out of the husband's pocket to give it to the woman. The rabbi that says you don't necessarily believe the woman could say that's the principle I'm following. She says that she was raped after she was engaged, and God bless her, that's her claim. However, in order for me to take money out of that guy's pocket, I need proof beyond her saying. So if you're going to follow that principle, you need proof to take money out of somebody's pocket, then it's a very sad claim she's making, but we need proof. Okay. So you could say that. You could follow that principle. Okay. But Amar Rabban Gamliel would say, Bari Adif. So Rabban Gamliel says the claim of certainty is more powerful, so he's following that. Okay. Lema Rav Yehuda v'Rav Huna da Amre ke Rabban Gamliel. What we could say is that Rav Yehuda and Rav Yehuda and Rav Huna follow Rabban Gamliel, because Rabban Gamliel says the more powerful claim is correct. V'Rav Nachman v'Rabbi Yochanan, and it's Rav Yochanan and Rabbi Yochanan who say that you don't have to pay. Da'amre ki Rabbi Yoshua, and they would say that Rabbi Yoshua says that you need proof to take away money from somebody's pocket. So they're dividing it up, and now in the next page, which we're not going to get to right now, we'll make the connection between the two women's claims. Okay. Right now they're dividing up into the money claim and then leading up to the claims of the two women's and how those cases are similar or how they're different. Okay, we'll do that. We'll do that next week.
See, the woman is always